The massive observation ship hung silently in the darkness of space, hidden behind Earth's moon. Inside, 12 council members from different alien species gathered around a holographic display of Earth, their expressions a mixture of dismissal and mild interest. "Another primitive world," said the lead observer, his gray skin reflecting the soft blue glow of the display. "They've barely reached their own moon, and they still fight among themselves." The council chamber was filled with quiet murmurs of agreement. Their ship had been watching Earth for the past 3 months, collecting data and analyzing human civilization. To them, Earth was just another planet to add to their growing list of protectorates, primitive species that needed guidance from the superior races of the galaxy. "Look at their weapons," another council member said, waving his hand to change the display. "Chemical propellants and crude nuclear devices. They haven't even discovered gravity manipulation yet." Tom Smith, the only human-looking alien in the group, stepped forward with concern on his face. As a member of the shapeshifter species, he had taken human form to better understand Earth during his surface observations. "I must disagree with the current assessment," Tom said, his voice firm. "There's something different about these humans." The other council members turned to him, some with amusement, others with annoyance. "They have qualities we shouldn't ignore," Tom continued, bringing up images of human history. "Look at how quickly they advanced from primitive flight to space travel. Barely 60 years. No other species has shown such rapid progress." The lead observer waved his hand dismissively. 60 years is nothing. Our civilizations took thousands of years to perfect spaceflight. We did it properly, carefully. These humans rush everything." Tom pulled up more images. Human warfare, technological advancement, and adaptation to different environments. "That's exactly my point. They adapt faster than any species we've encountered. And their warfare." "Primitive," interrupted another council member. "They still use projectile weapons." "No," Tom insisted. "Look closer. Every major conflict has led to massive technological leaps. They turn their weapons into tools, their tools into weapons. They adapt enemy technology and improve it. They learn from every failure." The council chamber fell silent for a moment, but then the lead observer laughed. "You've spent too much time watching them, Observer Tom. You're seeing threats where none exist. They're just another young species that needs our guidance." Tom tried one last time. "At least look at their entertainment media. They constantly imagine scenarios of fighting superior alien forces. They're mentally prepared for conflict with advanced civilizations. Every story they tell about alien contact includes the possibility of warfare." "Primitive fantasies," the lead observer said, standing up to end the discussion. "The decision is made. Earth will be offered protectorate status. Their resources and population will serve the council well." The other council members nodded in agreement, already discussing how to divide Earth's resources among their worlds. Only Tom remained by the display, watching videos of human combat training. "This is a mistake," he muttered to himself. "They're not like the others." In one of the videos, human soldiers were practicing urban warfare, adapting to changing situations with impressive speed. In another, scientists were reverse engineering captured enemy technology during a war. Each image showed humans learning, adapting, improving. But the council had made their decision. Earth would be approached with an offer of protection and guidance. The humans would be expected to accept their place as a junior species, grateful for the opportunity to serve the greater galactic community. As the observation ship prepared to contact Earth's governments, Tom made one final note in his report. "The humans show all signs of being apex predators. Their civilization masks their true nature. Recommend extreme caution." The note was filed away, unread, as the council prepared for what they thought would be a simple diplomatic mission. They had no idea they were about to wake a sleeping giant. The massive council ship dropped out of light speed above Earth, its silver hull gleaming in the sunlight. Within minutes, every human radar system, telescope, and satellite detected its presence. The age of human isolation was over. Inside the United Nations Emergency Chamber in New York, representatives from every nation sat in tense silence. The alien ship's arrival had done something unprecedented. It had united humanity in a way no other event ever had. "The alien vessel is broadcasting on all frequencies," announced General Robert Banks, his weathered face illuminated by the large screen behind him. "They're requesting to address the UN Security Council." The room erupted in whispers and hurried discussions. World leaders connected via secure video feeds, their faces showing a mixture of concern and determination. On the council ship, the lead observer smiled at his fellow council members. "See how they scramble, like small animals seeing a predator for the first time." But Tom, still in his human form, noticed something different. "They're too organized," he said quietly. "Look how quickly their military forces are coordinating. No panic in their responses." The lead observer ignored him, preparing for the transmission. The massive view screen activated, showing the gathered human leaders. "People of Earth," he began, his translator converting his words to all human languages simultaneously. "We come as friends, as guides to welcome you into the galactic community." In the UN chamber, military advisor Robert Walker stood in the shadows, watching carefully. 20 years of combat experience told him something wasn't right. The aliens' posture, their tone, it all screamed of superiority and underestimation. The lead observer continued his speech, outlining the Council's offer of protection and guidance. "Your world will benefit from our advanced technology, our wisdom, our protection. All we ask is your cooperation and acceptance of our leadership." Walker noticed how the alien leader barely concealed his condescension. He exchanged glances with other military leaders present. They saw it too. Without a word, they understood what needed to be done. "We are honored by your offer," the UN Secretary-General replied diplomatically. "However, such an important decision will require careful consideration and discussion among our nations." The council members exchanged amused looks. "Of course," the lead observer said graciously. "Take all the time you need to understand the benefits we offer. We will establish a temporary base on your moon to await your response." As the transmission ended, the council chamber filled with satisfied murmurs. "They're even more primitive than we thought," one member said. "Did you see how awed they were by our ship?" But Tom wasn't convinced. He had seen something in the human's eyes, a calculated alertness that reminded him of predators assessing their situation. Back in the UN chamber, Walker approached the Secretary-General. "Sir, did you notice their ship's design? The weapon ports they tried to hide. They're not here just for diplomacy." The Secretary-General nodded grimly. "I noticed. Send the code word to all military commands. Initialize Project Guardian. And contact Dr. Helen Nash at the Reverse Engineering Division." Around the world, hidden facilities began powering up. Underground bunkers, secret laboratories, and military bases shifted into high alert. But on the surface, everything remained calm and diplomatic. In orbit, the Council ship's sensors missed the subtle movements of Earth's military forces. They didn't notice the increased activity in certain research facilities, or the careful repositioning of satellites. "They're discussing our offer like children excited about a new toy," the lead observer said proudly. "Soon they'll join our other protectorate species, grateful for our guidance." Tom watched the night side of Earth, noting how certain cities dimmed their lights in coordinated patterns. "I don't think they're discussing whether to accept our offer," he said softly. "I think they're planning something else entirely." But once again, nobody listened to his warning. The Council was too busy planning how to divide Earth's resources, completely unaware that humanity was quietly preparing for a very different outcome. 30 days after first contact, the Council ship's massive hologram appeared in the skies above every major city on Earth. The lead observer's face loomed overhead, his expression stern and impatient. "People of Earth," his voice boomed across the planet, "your time for discussion has ended. You will accept our protection and guidance, or we will be forced to demonstrate our power. You have 24 hours to submit. In the deep underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Helen Nash held up a strange piece of metal that seemed to float above her hand. Around her, dozens of scientists worked frantically at their stations, studying similar pieces of alien technology. "It's ready," she announced, her eyes bright with excitement. "The gravity manipulation device works. We've cracked their basic technology." General Walker nodded, watching as the metal piece danced in the air. "How many can we produce in 24 hours? With all global facilities running, enough to surprise our new friends." Meanwhile, in orbit, Tom paced nervously in his quarters. The humans' response to the ultimatum had been strange. No panic, no protests, no desperate pleas. Just calm acceptance and requests for details about the integration process. "Something's wrong," he muttered, reviewing surface scans for the 100th time. "They're too quiet." In the council chamber, the other members celebrated. "See how quickly they submitted." The lead observer laughed. "Just like all primitive species when faced with superior power." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Mary Cooper stood in the command center of humanity's first true space warship, hidden in an underwater base. The ship had been built in secret over the past month, combining human ingenuity with reverse-engineered alien tech. "All systems check complete," her executive officer reported. "The cloak works perfectly. They can't detect us." Cooper smiled grimly. "And the weapons? Better than theirs. We've improved their designs." On the surface, Earth's governments publicly prepared for integration into the Council's system. They made shows of organizing welcome ceremonies and preparation talks. Council observers watched with satisfaction as humans seemingly accepted their new role. But underground, in secret facilities across the planet, a different story unfolded. Factories worked at full capacity, producing weapons that combined human creativity with alien technology. Military units trained with new devices that defied gravity and bent space. The Council ship's sensors missed it all. Their arrogance blinded them to the subtle signs. They didn't notice that Earth's satellite network had quietly doubled, or that strange energy signatures flickered briefly in remote areas. "Look at these submission ceremonies they're planning," one council member said, watching broadcasts from Earth. "Such an obedient species." Tom watched a different feed, a supposedly live broadcast that he noticed was actually repeated from yesterday. "They're hiding something," he insisted. "These broadcasts are fake." The lead observer sighed. "Observer Tom, your paranoia about these primitives is becoming tiresome. Look at their responses. They're exactly as our models predicted." In the UN's secure bunker, Walker presented the final readiness report to the world's leaders. "Everything is in position," he announced. "All units are ready. Our new weapons are distributed. The ships are prepared." The Secretary General looked at the assembled leaders on the screen. "Then we proceed as planned. Send the coded message. Operation Trojan Horse is go." Across Earth, hidden facilities hummed with power. Concealed ships powered up their engines. Soldiers checked their new weapons, gravity generators humming softly. In orbit, the Council ship's crew prepared to begin their takeover of Earth. Their weapons remained powered down. They didn't expect any resistance from such a primitive species. "Send the integration teams," the lead observer commanded. "Begin establishing our authority." Tom made one last attempt. "We should scan for hidden facilities, check for military preparations." "Enough," the lead observer snapped. "These humans are harmless. By tomorrow, they'll be just another protectorate species." But as the Council shuttles began descending toward Earth, they didn't notice the small devices attached to their hulls during routine atmospheric surveys. Devices that broadcast their exact positions to hidden human defense networks. The trap was set. The Council's biggest mistake was about to become clear. The first month of Earth's integration into the Council's system went exactly as planned. But not the Council's plan. Council representatives strutted through the halls of their new base in the Rocky Mountains, completely unaware that 20 levels below them, Dr. Nash's team monitored their every move through hidden sensors. Every piece of alien technology they carelessly displayed was scanned, analyzed, and improved upon within hours. They don't even encrypt their personal devices, Dr. Nash whispered to General Walker during a security briefing. They think we're too primitive to understand their tech. Walker nodded, watching the holographic display showing alien movements throughout the base. And the translation program. Complete. We can understand everything they say, even their private communications. On the Council's command ship, Tom stood at his observation post, growing increasingly uneasy. Something about the humans' behavior bothered him. They were learning alien languages too quickly, adapting to new technology too smoothly. The humans have accepted another mining operation in their Arctic region, the lead observer announced proudly during the daily meeting. They're so eager to please. Tom stepped forward. Don't you think they're accepting everything too easily? No resistance at all. Because they understand their place, another council member replied. Like all primitive species, they know what's best for them. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Admiral Cooper's fleet had grown from 1 ship to 15. Each vessel combined human innovation with reversed-engineered alien technology, but with significant improvements. The ship's hulls were covered with materials that absorbed scanning beams, making them invisible to alien sensors. Final system check complete on all vessels, her executive officer reported. The weapon yields are 30% higher than Council standards. Cooper smiled. And they still think we're building fishing boats up on the surface. In Council bases around the world, aliens walked confidently through their facilities, while hidden human sensors mapped every detail of their technology. Each base had been carefully designed with secret observation posts and hidden research labs built into their very foundations. The Council's overconfidence was their weakness. They never thought to check for facilities beneath their own bases, never wondered why humans suggested certain locations for their installations. In orbit, a council member reviewed the latest reports. Look how well they're progressing. Already mining resources for us, learning our basic technology. Such quick learners. Too quick, Tom muttered, but no one paid attention. In a hidden facility under the Sahara Desert, the first human-made faster-than-light drive hummed to life. Dr. Nash's team had not only copied the alien design, but had improved its efficiency by 40%. Ready for full power test, one scientist reported. Dr. Nash nodded. Begin the sequence. Let's see if our friends upstairs notice anything. They didn't. The Council's sensors were aimed outward, looking for external threats. They never thought to look for advanced technology being tested right under their bases. During a public ceremony in New York, human leaders praised the Council's guidance while wearing simple Earth clothes. The aliens never noticed that these same leaders wore advanced combat suits underneath, reverse-engineered and enhanced from stolen designs. Such a diplomatic species, the lead observer commented, watching the ceremony. Nothing like the warriors they once were. Tom watched a group of human children playing near a Council ship. Notice how they're measuring the ship's dimensions in their games, how they're counting security patrol patterns. You see threats in children's games now. The lead observer laughed. Perhaps you need rest, observer Tom. But Tom had seen something nobody else had. The children's game was actually a complex data-gathering exercise. Their sing-song rhymes a coded message containing the ship's vital statistics. In the UN's Secret Command Center, Walker reviewed the final preparations. Every Council base had been mapped. Every piece of their technology had been copied and improved. Every security system had been compromised. Phase 1 complete, he reported to the world's leaders. We're ready for Phase 2. The Secretary General nodded. Then let's proceed. It's time to show our alien friends what humanity is really capable of. Above them, the Council continued to celebrate their easy victory, completely unaware that they were sitting in the middle of humanity's carefully laid trap. The attack began at exactly midnight GMT. In that single moment, every Council base on Earth discovered that their primitive hosts had been playing a very long game. In the Rocky Mountains base, the council members were enjoying their nightly meal when the gravity suddenly reversed. As they floated helplessly near the ceiling, Dr. Nash's voice came through their own communication systems. "Gravity manipulation technology," she said calmly. "We copied it from you. Then we made it better." The lead observer, floating in his command chair on the main ship, stared in disbelief as hundreds of advanced vessels suddenly appeared around his fleet. The human ships had been there all along, hidden by cloaking technology that shouldn't have been possible for such a primitive species. "This is Admiral Cooper of the Earth Defense Fleet," a calm voice announced on all frequencies. "Your ships are surrounded. Your bases are captured. Your technology is compromised." Tom watched from his observation post, nodding slowly. "I tried to warn you," he said to the floating lead observer. "Humans aren't like other species. They're predators pretending to be prey." In every council base worldwide, hidden doors and walls suddenly opened. Human soldiers in advanced combat suits emerged, carrying weapons that combined council technology with Earth's long history of warfare innovation. "Your shields only stop energy weapons," General Walker announced as his troops secured the New York base. "So we made better ones, and kept our projectile weapons too. Best of both worlds." The Council's emergency signals weren't working. They discovered that humans had built their bases on top of signal-blocking materials that hadn't existed 2 months ago. "Impossible," the lead observer gasped, watching human ships disable his fleet's engines with precise shots. "You can't have advanced this quickly." Admiral Cooper's flagship to cloak directly in front of the Council's command ship. Its design was clearly inspired by Council technology, but with obvious improvements. Where Council ships were bulky, human ships were sleek. Where Council weapons were powerful but slow, human weapons were both powerful and precise. "We've been preparing for something like this for centuries," Cooper transmitted. "All those movies about alien invasions, they were training exercises. All those science fiction stories, military planning disguised as entertainment." In orbit, Tom finally smiled. He watched as human ships herded the Council fleet into a containment formation with practiced ease. Their movements showed years of training, not weeks. The whole submission was a lie, he explained to his fellow Council members. While you were watching them build primitive ships on the surface, they were building real ones underground and underwater. While you thought they were learning basic technology, they were taking yours apart and improving it. Dr. Nash stood in the control room of what the Council had thought was a simple administrative building. Around her, screens showed every Council base and ship now under human control. "Did you really think," she asked the captured Council members, "that a species that went from horse-drawn carriages to spaceflight in less than a century would take decades to understand your technology?" The Secretary General addressed the stunned Council leadership from the UN chamber. Behind him, screens showed human forces in complete control of Earth's orbit. "You made 3 mistakes," he said calmly. "First, you thought our diplomatic nature meant we were weak. Second, you gave us access to your technology. Third, and most importantly, you assumed we would be grateful for your conquest." In less than 1 hour, humanity had completely reversed the power dynamic. Council forces were contained, their weapons disabled, their communications blocked. Earth's carefully hidden fleet now controlled all orbital spaces. "So," Admiral Cooper transmitted to the lead observer, "shall we discuss new terms for our relationship with the Council? As equals this time." The lead observer, watching human ships easily holding his entire fleet at bay, finally understood their greatest mistake. They hadn't found a primitive species to convert into a protectorate. They had awakened a sleeping giant, one that had been preparing for this moment for generations. 3 days after Earth's uprising, the Council's main battle fleet arrived from deep space. 500 warships, the pride of their military might, propped out of faster-than-light travel expecting to find a rebellious primitive world ready for punishment. Instead, they found empty space where their command ship should have been. Looking for these, Admiral Cooper's voice transmitted across all frequencies as 200 council ships suddenly appeared, surrounded by human vessels. "We've been studying your fleet movements. You're predictable." The council fleet commander stared at his display in shock. The humans weren't just using captured ships. They had built their own, better ones. Where council ships needed 5 crew members, human ships operated with 3. Where council weapons took 10 seconds to recharge, human weapons fired every 5. "This is your only warning," Cooper continued. "Return to council space, or we'll demonstrate more of what we've learned." In the rocky depths of Mars, hidden bases activated. Human ships emerged from underground hangars, their hulls gleaming with technology that didn't exist 2 months ago. The Council had given humanity access to faster-than-light travel, thinking it would take years to understand. It had taken days. "Impossible," the fleet commander muttered. "No species can advance this quickly." Tom, now aboard Cooper's flagship as an advisor, watched the Council fleet's formation. "They're preparing for their standard attack pattern," he reported. 3 waves, heavy ships in front. "Thank you, Tom." Cooper nodded. "Just like in their combat manual. The one they thought we couldn't decode." The Council fleet launched their attack, their ships moving in the same formations they used for 1,000 years. They had never needed to change, until now. Human ships scattered in seemingly random patterns. The Council commanders smiled, thinking they had panicked their primitive opponents. They didn't realize they were watching the result of centuries of warfare evolution. "Fire pattern Alpha," Cooper commanded. "Show them why humans don't fight in straight lines." The space around the Council fleet erupted in chaos. Human ships attacked from constantly changing angles, using maneuvers developed from Earth's long history of aerial combat. Where Council ships fought like medieval knights in space, human ships fought like swarms of angry wasps. "They're not following any known combat doctrine," a Council commander reported frantically. "We can't predict their movements." In the Council's core worlds, more bad news arrived. Their own protectorate species were rebelling, inspired by Earth's example. Humans had transmitted their successful resistance across all frequencies, showing the galaxy that the Council wasn't invincible. Dr. Nash's voice came over the command channel. "We've analyzed your shield frequencies. They cycle in predictable patterns. Like this." Suddenly, human weapons fire began slipping through Council shields at precisely timed intervals. The Council fleet commander watched in horror as his primitive opponents demonstrated perfect understanding of technology that had taken his people centuries to develop. "Fall back," he ordered. "Regroup at Sector 7. But Sector 7 was already filled with human ships waiting behind Mars. Earth's forces had studied Council tactics so well they knew exactly where the fleet would retreat. "You relied too much on technology," General Walker transmitted from his command post on Phobos, Mars's moon. "We relied on experience. Humanity has fought more wars in our short history than the Council has in 10,000 years." The Council fleet found itself trapped between 2 forces of human ships. Their centuries-old tactics were useless against an enemy that had mastered asymmetric warfare before reaching space. "Final warning," Cooper announced. "Surrender or retreat. Either way, Earth's independence is non-negotiable." The fleet commander looked at his tactical display. Half his ships were disabled. The other half were surrounded. And more human vessels were emerging from hidden bases across the solar system. "How?" he asked. "How did you advance so fast?" "Simple," Cooper replied. "We've spent our entire history preparing for fights against superior forces. You just gave us the tools to do what we do best." The Council fleet retreated, leaving behind their damaged ships and their shattered assumptions about primitive species. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had changed the galaxy forever. 1 month after the Council fleet's retreat, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different. Human ships surrounded the Council's capital world, their presence a clear message to the galaxy's oldest power. The lead observer, no longer leading anything, sat quietly as human representatives walked into the hall. General Walker, Admiral Cooper and Dr. Nash led the Earth delegation. They wore no special clothes, carried no weapons. They didn't need to. Everyone knew what humans were capable of now. "Let's discuss the new balance of power," Walker said simply, taking the seat at the council table. The council members shifted uncomfortably. On the massive screens behind them, footage played from the recent battle. Human ships danced through space, making council technology look ancient and slow. "You hide your true nature well," one council member said bitterly, "pretending to be primitive, all while preparing for war." Dr. Nash smiled. "We weren't preparing for war. We were preparing for survival. There's a difference." Around the galaxy, things were changing quickly. Former protectorate species had declared independence, following Earth's example. Many had already requested human help to understand the technology they'd never been allowed to learn before. "Your civilization is barely 5,000 years old," another council member protested. "You can't possibly guide other species." "We don't want to guide anyone," Admiral Cooper replied. "Unlike you, we believe species should develop in their own way. We're offering partnership, not protection." Tom, now Earth's official representative to the Council, brought up a holographic display. It showed human ships helping former protectorate worlds establish their own space programs. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our warfare," he explained to his former colleagues. "It's our ability to adapt and help others adapt. We learn, we teach, we improve." The Council watched as their carefully built power structure crumbled. Worlds that had been under their control for thousands of years were now forming alliances with Earth, learning centuries of forbidden technology in weeks. "This is chaos," the lead observer whispered. "You're destroying the galactic order." "No," Walker corrected him. "We're letting it grow naturally. Every species has something to teach, even humanity." Dr. Nash activated another hologram, showing human improvements to Council technology. "We've already made faster ships, better weapons, more efficient power systems. Imagine what other species might create if given the chance." The images showed more than just military technology. Human medical knowledge was spreading across the galaxy. Earth's entertainment and art were creating bridges between different species. Human food was becoming popular on 1,000 worlds. "You conquered us without realizing it," Tom said to the Council. "But instead of finding simple servants, you found teachers." Admiral Cooper stood, her presence commanding attention. "Here are our terms. The Council will continue to exist, but as a true diplomatic body, not an empire. All species will have equal representation. Technology will be shared, not controlled." "And if we refuse?" asked the lead observer. The screen showed a new image, Earth's combined fleet, now larger than the Council's, holding position around the capital world. "Then we'll leave," Walker said simply, "and take all our improvements with us. How long do you think your power will last when everyone else in the galaxy has better technology?" The Council chamber fell silent. Centuries of power were ending, replaced by something new, something unpredictable. "We accept your terms," the lead observer finally said. As the human delegation left the chamber, Tom stayed behind for a moment. "You know what your biggest mistake was?" he asked his former colleagues. "You thought being young meant being primitive. You forgot that youth also means hunger, creativity, and the drive to improve." The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had emerged not as conquerors, but as innovators, not as rulers, but as teachers. And in the dark spaces between stars, other young species looked up at their skies with new hope, knowing that the age of the Council's dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun.